Welcome back and thank you for joining me for the next session, which is our goal setting session. I'm so excited about this because this is something that I love to do, not just for myself. It's something that if you ever become, and I hope you will become, a coaching client, then we definitely will set goals together. It's something that my clients find so valuable, really, to give them that clarity, that way forward, that compelling future that when you wake up in the morning, you know that the day is going to be so amazing because it takes you that step closer to all those things that you dream about in life, and celebrating them, and celebrating the things that, because you did it, you've already achieved. It's just an amazing process. So let's begin. You may have heard of a motivational speaker, a gentleman named Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn once said, "I find it fascinating that most people plan their vacations with better care than they plan their lives." Perhaps it's because escape is easier than change. Gosh, that's so true, isn't it? How much time do you spend planning your holidays, planning hobbies, spending time with your family, rather than spending time planning your future? Success psychologists say that 95 to 97% of people in the world do not have written goals, and they fail, while only 3 to 5% have written goals, and they're the ones that succeed. If these statistics are correct, then actually Mr. Rohn's observation really is quite fascinating, isn't it? Unfortunately for most people, the odds for success are actually even low, because out of the few people who do set goals, well, most don't take goal setting seriously anyway, and they don't do it very scientifically, and the chances are they just do it once a year. You know, New Year's resolutions, yeah. And when do they usually fizzle out? Round about the end of January, don't they? Maybe make it into the beginning of February if we're really lucky, and then that's it, gone again till the next year. So what's all the fuss about goals then? What's the power in goal setting? Well, with goals, you create your future in advance. It's the most amazing process of creating your destiny, shaping your life. Whatever your goals are, well, they're affecting you in some way, whether your goals are to be amazing or maybe just to get through the day. So if goal setting is that powerful, then actually we want to choose our goals very carefully. Here's some interesting facts. In 1953, Yale University did an intensive study. They interviewed the graduating class just before they left school, and they asked them a whole series of questions, and one of them was this: how many of you have clear, specific sets of goals with a written plan for their achievement? And interestingly enough, here's an interesting figure, heard this one before, less than 3% had a set of written goals and a plan for achieving them. 20 years later, in 1973, they went back and interviewed the surviving class members of that class of 53, and they interviewed those people to find out, well, what were their lives like 20 years later. The amazing thing was that the 3% who had written goals that specifically had a plan for their attainment appeared happier, more well adjusted, and more excited about their lives as a whole. Well, that's all very well, isn't it? But how can you measure those things? They're a bit subjective. But the one thing that's very measurable is this: the group of people who had written goals were worth more financially than the entire 97% of that class that didn't have goals combined. Think about that. That is the power of goal setting. You see, what goals do is they give us focus. Focus, or clarity on what we want, is such an amazing tool. If I said to you, don't think of a pink elephant. Incredible, isn't it? What do you now think of? Yeah, before you think not to, there you have, you thought of a pink elephant. So when we focus on things we don't want, are you surprised then that actually those are the things that we get? How many of us focus on what we don't want, or our lack, or our pain, or our whatever it might be, how much more resourceful would it be to spend that time instead focusing on exactly what we want? You see, your unconscious mind works by filtering out so much of the information that we receive. We receive, gosh, 2 to 4 million bits of information every second through our senses. That is way too much for us to consciously comprehend, and so we've got to filter it out. We've got to delete some of it, we've got to distort it, we've got to generalise it. We need to get rid of some of it in order to, gosh, just even survive with the level of information that we're receiving. And so we need to get it down to 134 bits per minute. That's a huge reduction. And so it does that by filtering things out. Our reticular activating system is amazing at just concentrating on the things that we need to be aware of. So look around the room for a minute for me, wherever it is that you might be, and just take in everything in that room that's green. So just focus on everything that you can see that's green. Close your eyes and find now everything in the room that's brown. Amazing, isn't it? Because you've been focusing on the green, you probably filtered out everything that's brown. But open your eyes and just have a look round at everything that is brown that you deleted. So once you start to focus on something, now our unconscious minds can begin to filter out examples of it. Once we know what we want, we can start to filter for people to model, opportunities that come along to achieve. We'll start to notice books on the subject, coaches that specialise in it. We'll start to notice brochures and magazine articles, TV programmes, all sorts of things will start to pop up that you probably wouldn't even normally notice. And those filters then, once you've got those clear goals, will fast track you towards their achievement. Goals allow you to specifically hone in. It's a target. You know, what if you have a target but you blindfold? What if I blindfolded you right now, spun you round, gave you a bow and arrow maybe, and asked you why you're blindfolded and spinning round to hit the target? Oh, and I'll throw a few arrows at you while you're trying to do it, because that's what life does, isn't it? How much hope do you have, realistically, of actually hitting that target? Not a lot, really, is it? So let's take the blindfolds off and create a sharp focus, a sharp target, our future. Now, the one thing that we do need to do when we're setting goals is to dare to dream. Now, that might sound a little bit odd, dare to dream. What do I mean? Well, in my experience, when completing this exercise, this amazing process with so many people, is that as we grow up, as we get older in life, we forget how to dream. And I don't mean dream when you sleep, I mean daydream. Allow ourselves to really believe anything's possible. So I have a question for you. At what age did you get fed up of being told that you can't have everything that you want, and finally listen to that and give up dreaming? It happens to most of us around about the age of 7 or 8. But the secret is to having an amazing life is to be able to dream. Not only dream, but to be able to dream big. And when you can dream big, dream even bigger. When you can dream even bigger, wow, take away any other limits that you've got. So let's go back to where we left those dreams and learn to dream all over again before we start the goal setting process. You see, when I first started to get into goal setting, I thought, Grace, this is really easy. All I've got to do is set some targets, write them down, read them every day and take some action. I'll be there. It'll be like magic. And actually, it didn't seem to be quite like that. And I did just that. But I didn't really quite get the momentum that I needed to achieve. And so what I realised is that all my goals were short term. They were all doable and they were all a little bit ordinary. I realised that I was great at setting goals for today, maybe tomorrow and next week. I could even set goals for the next few months and possibly up to about a year's time. But if you ask me to set goals for 5 years in the future, 10 years, 20 years, oh, for goodness sakes, 20 years? I can't see that far ahead. Or I certainly couldn't back then. And that's my experience with lots of people that I take through this process. Because we've lost that ability to dream, sometimes it just takes a little bit of exercising again. And so let's start that process, working that muscle. And maybe for you, it will be so easy. I hope it is. For those of you who maybe it's not quite so easy, please don't give up. Keep going. For me, it was second or third time of going through the goal setting process that eventually, over a few months, I began to be able to expand my vision because I allowed myself to go back to where I could really dream again. And it was kind of not long after going through that first original process that there I was on a shopping trip, and I so realised why it was that I found that I'd lost my ability to dream big. There was a little girl in the store, and you know what kids are like. It's she was with her dad, and it was like, "Daddy, can I have this toy?" And it was a little cuddly toy, like a little teddy bear thing that you pressed its belly and it spoke. And then no sooner did he said, "No, dear," that it was like, "Oh, on to the next thing. Can I have that book? Oh, and can I have this trampoline? And gosh, can I have one of these fish ponds with a fish game that you can dip in it? And oh my goodness, can we have this paddling pool? And oh, I really want this chess set." And it was like, it was on and on. It was one thing after the next. And finally her dad said, "For goodness sake, you can't have everything, so just stop asking." Wow. How many times as a child have we heard that or something similar? Had our desires squished, our imagination mocked, dreams kicked into touch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, gosh, no wonder we grow up learning not to dream anymore. How many times did you hear, "Get real"? You can't have everything, you know. Money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, you're such a daydreamer. Get your head out of the clouds. This is real life. Oh, my goodness, such sad words. I realised there and then that in order to get past my goal-setting block, I needed to learn to dream. Dream like a child again. Go back to that age that I put my dreams on the shelf, where the get-real adults forced me to put them. I need to go back, take them down, dust them off, open them up and play with them again. Truly play again. It was a little bit odd at first, but gosh, once I found the memories of how I dreamed as a child, well, actually it got easier and easier, and pretty soon, wow, my dreams became so excited. Unbelievable, really. Some of them totally unrealistic. Those are the kinds of goals that you really need to have, because that's when the real magic begins to happen and you realise that you can live life on your own terms and have whatever you want in it. So where did you leave your dreams? I want you to go back to that child inside you. Find the excitement that you had. Do you remember that time before Christmas or your birthday? Dreaming of all those amazing things that you could have. Writing that list of presents. Going through catalogues or Google or whatever it was for you. Using your imagination. There's no boundaries, was there? There was no realism. Go back to that place now. Take away those boundaries. Shake off the shackles of realism and just let your imagination run riot. See how amazing that is. That's the way to set goals. And then there's something magical about writing goals down. When you're inspired to dream and that dream becomes a physical entity by writing it on paper, again, there's something amazing that happens. It's almost like the act of writing it down takes it from the unreal, the imagination, and creates a reality as it becomes something tangible, something written on paper. And what's even more incredible is you don't need to even know how those things are going to happen. Your dreams can just come true. You know, I met a fellow business adventurer this morning at a networking meeting, and we got talking about goals, and he said, I've never really set any goals throughout my life until about 9 months ago. And at that time, I really wanted something more from life and from a business, and I decided, actually, I'm going to get quite serious about it. And so he said to me, I set two goals with deadlines, and I really focused on them. Within 9 months, not only had I achieved them both, and they weren't lightweight goals either. And I thought, wow, this thing really works, and I'm not sure how, but it really does work. And that's what I love about goals. If you set them with a belief that you can achieve them and a commitment to making them happen, you don't even have to know how. And so, as we go into our goal setting exercise, I want you to take off the limits of how. If you catch yourself thinking, oh, I can't write that down because I don't know how, that's me. That is exactly what it means. It needs to be written down. Take away the how. That's not important right now, because somehow there's an invisible link that's formed between your thoughts and desires and the material world. Expressing that thought and making it a physical thing that you can touch, feel, see, carry around with you in writing just makes it even real before you even see it unfold. Dream that dream vividly every day, and the universe, yep, the universe, it conspires to make it so. You'll just have the right flashes of inspiration. You'll just meet the right people at the right time. Find opportunities all around you that you didn't even notice before as those filters start to kick in. With a passion for your dream, you'll find new depths of emotion that will really propel you towards your goal. You'll find courage, confidence, joy, energy, determination, assertiveness, intelligence, discipline, each one there to guide you and fuel you on this new destiny. Resources, a resourcefulness that's been laying dormant, being there all the time, just waiting for that spark to ignite it. At a recent goal setting session, I had a gentleman who wrote down that in the future he would like not only to continue to exhibit his paintings, but he'd like to sell them as well. He kept his goals to himself, but he wrote them down and he took them with him. And the next time we met, gosh, he was so excited to tell me that he'd really enjoyed the goal setting session. It really made him think, and he got a lot out of it. And then he confided in me that one of his goals that he'd not told me about was one about his paintings. He'd had 3 paintings in an exhibition locally, and when he went back to pick them up, to his amazement, there was only one left. The other 2 had sold, and his goal had already been achieved. Fabulous. An example from my own life that I can give you is a few years ago when my little girl was, well, she was just 6 years old then, and she passionately wanted to go to Disneyland. You know, the adverts would come on the TV, and every time she'd ask, Mummy, can we go there? And of course I'd say yes, one day we will. And I really believed that, but I couldn't tell you which day. But at that time, well, gosh, as a single parent with so many commitments, I'd got no idea when that day would be. But I did write it down. I put it in my goals. It was in my long-term goals, and then I kind of forgot about it. About 10 months later, my mum decided that for her 70th birthday, she'd like to take the family on a trip rather than have a party. She'd like to take the family on a trip to Disneyland. How amazing is that? She took us all on an expensive trip to, yes, you got it, Disneyland Paris. Another goal committed to paper formed an invisible link with reality, and it happened without me even knowing how. I could not have foreseen that. It was amazing. And I've seen that happen so many other times in my life too. So whether you believe it or not doesn't matter to me, because this stuff works. So why not take a chance and try it for yourself? So here we go, enough talking, it's time to set some goals rather than just babble on again about it. So we're going to do a bit of goal setting together, and we're going to split our goals into certain areas of our lives. Why? Well, that's so that we can achieve a whole balance in our lives. Otherwise, it's so easy to concentrate so much on one thing that you fail to notice other parts of your life just not quite doing so well until it's too late. And then that's not very nice. So it's really a great idea to keep things balanced. So we're going to think about relationships, we're going to think about career, we're going to think about personal development, things, and contribution. And if you've got your workbook handy there, you'll see that in the workbook we've just separated them into 3: professional goals, personal goals, and thing goals, or sometimes I like to call it stuff. So go ahead, grab a pen. If you haven't got one, just pause me for a second, go and grab a pen, get your workbook in front of you, or at least lots of pieces of paper. And we're going to keep our pen moving for the whole of each section. So I'll just give you a moment to do that. So now you've got your pen and you're ready to go. Remember, no limits, no ceiling, no hows, and absolutely no common sense. Your job right now is to dream. Just dream. And so let's play some music and go through the whole section, and let's really get back to being that kid inside. Imagine it's coming up to Christmas, you're going to write that list, it's coming up to your birthday, you can have anything you like, everything's possible. So here we go, thinking of your professional goals. First of all, professional goals, career goals, business goals. What qualifications do you want? What promotion would be amazing? What's your dream job? Would you start your own business? How much money do you want to earn? How much more money do you want to earn? Think about that question. When do you want to retire? Do you ever want to retire? How much money would you love to have when you retire? What kind of employee would you love to be? What kind of employer? What skills would you love to have? What would you love to be the expert in? What mentors would you love to have? What coaches?